quiet girl gets revenge on school bullies using UFC moves. You won't believe what happens next. An inspiring story by Heartfelt Tales. The gymnasium fell silent as Maya Chun stepped onto the mat, her hands wrapped in boxing gloves that seemed too big for her small frame. Across from her stood Derek Martinez, the school star wrestler, a cruel smile playing on his lips. What happened next would shock everyone in that room, including Maya herself. But to understand how a quiet 17-year-old girl became the talk of Jefferson High, we need to go back to where it all began. If this story moves you, please take a moment to like and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more inspiring content like this. Maya had always been different. While her classmates spent their weekends at parties or the mall, she preferred the solitude of her bedroom, sketching in her art journal or reading fantasy novels. Her petite 5'2" frame, combined with her naturally quiet demeanor, made her an easy target. The bullying started small: whispered comments about her thrift store clothes, accidental shoulder bumps in the hallway, and cruel laughter when she stumbled over words during class presentations. Jessica Morrison and her crew were the ringleaders. Popular, wealthy, and utterly ruthless, they had turned tormenting Maya into their favorite pastime. They would knock her books from her hands, spread rumors about her family's financial struggles, and record her reactions to post on social media. Maya's parents, both working multiple jobs to make ends meet, were too exhausted to notice their daughter's pain. She felt completely alone. The worst part wasn't the physical harassment, it was the way the bullying made her feel about herself. Maya began to believe their words. Maybe she was worthless. Maybe she deserved this treatment. She started skipping lunch, hiding in empty classrooms, and avoiding eye contact with everyone. Her grades, once stellar, began to slip. Her art, which had been her refuge, felt meaningless. She was disappearing, even from herself. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday in October. Maya was leaving her last class when she found Jessica and her friends surrounding her locker. They had somehow gotten the combination and had filled it with garbage from the cafeteria. Spoiled milk dripped from her textbooks, and her precious art journal lay soaked in what appeared to be ketchup and mustard. "Oops," Jessica said with mock innocence, her perfectly manicured nails gleaming as she gestured at the mess. "Looks like someone had an accident." Her followers erupted in laughter, their phones already out, recording Maya's humiliation for their social media entertainment. Maya stood frozen, tears streaming down her face as she watched months of her artwork dissolving into an unrecognizable mess. That art journal contained her dreams, her escape from reality, her hope for a better future. And now it was gone. Something inside her chest cracked, but instead of breaking completely, it began to transform into something harder, something fiercer. That night, Maya didn't go home immediately. Instead, she found herself walking past the rundown strip mall on the edge of town, where a small sign caught her eye: Iron Dragon Martial Arts, first class free. Through the window, she could see people of all ages practicing what looked like a combination of martial arts techniques. Without really thinking, she pushed open the door. The sensei, a weathered woman named Elena Vasquez, looked up from where she was teaching a young boy proper stance. Elena had the kind of presence that commanded respect, not through fear, but through quiet strength. Her dark hair was streaked with silver, and scars on her knuckles told stories of her own battles. "Can I help you?" Elena asked, her voice gentle but direct. Maya's voice came out as barely a whisper. "I want to learn to fight." Elena studied her for a long moment, taking in Maya's red-rimmed eyes, her defeated posture, and the fire that was just beginning to kindle in her gaze. "Fighting isn't about hurting people," she said finally. "It's about finding your power. Are you ready for that journey?" Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. The next 3 months were the hardest of Maya's life, but also the most transformative. Elena didn't just teach her martial arts, she taught her about inner strength, discipline, and respect. Maya learned that true power came not from dominating others, but from mastering yourself. She discovered that her small frame wasn't a weakness, it was an advantage that allowed her to be quick, precise, and unpredictable. Elena shared her own story during their training sessions. She had been a victim of domestic violence, trapped in a marriage where she felt powerless and small. Martial arts had saved her life, giving her not just the physical tools to protect herself, but the mental strength to rebuild her entire existence. When someone tries to make you feel small, Elena would say as Maya practiced her forms, remember that you choose your size. You choose your power. No one can take that from you unless you give it away. Maya trained every day after school, her body becoming stronger and more confident with each session. But the real change was happening inside her mind. She began to see herself differently. The girl who had once cowered in corners was discovering she had the heart of a warrior. The bullying continued at school, but Maya's reactions began to change. Instead of crying, she would look Jessica in the eye with calm confidence. Instead of hunching her shoulders, she walked tall. The bullies noticed the change and, frustrated by her new composure, began to escalate their tactics. The final confrontation came in March, during what was supposed to be a friendly exhibition match at the school's first annual wellness fair. Various clubs and organizations had set up booths to promote healthy activities. Elena had convinced Maya to demonstrate some basic self-defense techniques as part of the martial arts club's presentation. Derek Martinez, Jessica's boyfriend and one of Maya's most persistent tormentors, saw an opportunity. He had been drinking at a pre-fair party and was feeling bold. When Maya finished her demonstration, he jumped onto the mat. "Let's see how tough the little ninja really is," he slurred, his words carrying across the suddenly quiet gymnasium. He was 6 inches taller than Maya and outweighed her by 60 pounds. The crowd began to murmur nervously. Maya looked at Elena, who gave her a subtle nod. They had trained for moments like this, though neither had expected it to happen so publicly or so soon. "This isn't necessary," Maya said calmly, but Derek was already advancing, his movements clumsy but aggressive. What happened next lasted less than 30 seconds, but it would be talked about for years. Derek lunged forward, expecting to easily overpower the small girl who had been his victim for so long. But Maya wasn't that girl anymore. She sidestepped his charge with fluid grace, using his momentum against him. As he stumbled past her, she applied a perfect hip throw that sent him crashing to the mat. Before he could recover, she had him in a submission hold that left him completely immobilized, his face pressed against the floor. The gymnasium erupted. Students who had watched Maya being bullied for months were now seeing her display skills that would have impressed professional fighters. Teachers and parents rushed forward, but Maya was already standing, helping a humiliated Derek to his feet. "I don't want to hurt anyone," she said, her voice carrying clearly across the silent crowd. "I just want to be left alone to live my life." The video of Maya's victory went viral within hours, but not in the way Jessica's cruel posts had. This time, people were celebrating courage, resilience, and the triumph of someone who had refused to stay down. Comments poured in from around the world, praising Maya's composure and skill. But the real victory wasn't in the throw or the viral fame. It was in what happened next. Jessica, faced with the reality that Maya was no longer an easy target, found that her power had evaporated. Other students who had been silent witnesses to the bullying began to speak up, creating a support network that Maya had never expected. Maya's grades improved dramatically. Her confidence soared. She started a self-defense club at school that became one of the most popular activities, teaching other students that they didn't have to accept being victims. Elena watched with pride as her student blossomed into a leader and mentor. "You didn't just learn to fight," she told Maya one evening after practice. "You learned to live." But perhaps the most surprising development was Derek himself. His public humiliation became a wake-up call that changed his entire perspective. He approached Maya weeks later, genuinely apologetic and asking if she would teach him some of what she had learned, not the physical techniques, but the discipline and self-respect that came with martial arts training. Maya's transformation inspired others throughout the school. Students who had been bullies began to question their behavior, while those who had been victims found their voices and their strength. The entire culture of Jefferson High began to shift toward something more positive and supportive. Years later, Maya would become a martial arts instructor herself, working alongside Elena to help other young people discover their inner strength. She would tell her students that the most important battle isn't with other people, it's with the voice inside your head that tries to convince you that you're powerless. Maya's story reminds us that we all have untapped strength within us. Sometimes it takes our darkest moments to discover just how bright we can shine. The bullies saw her as an easy target, but they had no idea they were messing with someone who had the heart of a champion. True strength isn't about dominating others or winning fights. It's about refusing to let circumstances define your worth, standing up for yourself with dignity, and having the courage to help others find their own power. Maya learned that being small in stature doesn't mean being small in spirit, and that sometimes the most powerful response to hatred is simply refusing to be broken by it. Her journey from victim to victor wasn't just about learning martial arts, it was about discovering that she had always been stronger than she knew. And in finding her own strength, she helped others find theirs too. If Maya's incredible journey inspired you, please show your support by hitting that like button and sharing this story with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales and ring the notification bell so you never miss our uplifting content. Your comments mean the world to us. Let us know in the section below what this story meant to you or share your own experiences of overcoming challenges. Together, we can build a community that celebrates resilience, courage, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Thank you for being part of the Heartfelt Tales family.